You know, we've all felt it. That little spark of magic when a file on your screen suddenly becomes a real thing you can hold in your hands. But we have also all felt that deep, hair-pulling frustration when you click print and absolutely nothing happens. Today, we're going to pry open that mystery box.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to take a tour and get to know the different kinds of printers out there. Then, we'll take a peek under the hood of a laser printer to see what's actually going on inside. After that, we'll talk about getting everything connected, which can be tricky. And finally, we'll build a first aid kit for those moments when your printer just decides to go on strike.
So first up, let's just get the lay of the land. Because not all printers are created equal, right? Each type we're about to see has a very specific job that it's best at, from just churning out office memos to, well, creating actual three-dimensional objects.
We're going to start with the absolute workhorse of the office, the laser printer. These things are the go-to for any place that prints a lot, because they are incredibly fast, and in the long run, the cost per page is way cheaper. They use this really fascinating process with static electricity, a laser, and this powdered ink called toner, which gets literally melted onto the page for a super crisp, durable finish.
Next up, we have the inkjet. And this is probably the one that's sitting on your desk at home right now. So instead of that toner powder, it uses a print head that zips back and forth, spraying thousands of microscopic dots of liquid ink to create everything from your kid's school essay to really vibrant, glossy photos.
Now, think about the last receipt you got from a store or a restaurant. That was almost certainly printed by a thermal printer. And their secret is just simplicity. They don't use any ink or toner cartridges at all. They just use heat to create an image, either on special heat-sensitive paper or by melting a little wax ribbon. And that's exactly why they're so fast and so reliable for things like receipts and shipping labels.
You might think these are a thing of the past, but believe it or not, these old-school impact printers are still around. These dot matrix printers are tough as nails, and they have one unique skill. Because they physically strike the page, they can create carbon copies, and that's still essential in places like warehouses, auto shops, that kind of thing.
And now we're going to jump from 2 dimensions to 3 with the 3D printer. This is incredible technology that completely redefines what printing even means. Instead of putting ink on paper, it builds physical objects from the ground up, laying down layer after tiny layer of material, like melted plastic or a special resin, to bring a digital design to life in the real world.
This is so cool to see in action. What you're looking at here is a specific kind of 3D printing called resin printing, which gives you incredible detail. Instead of melting plastic, it uses UV light to cure a liquid resin one painstaking layer at a time. And you can see how it's building the object upside down, literally pulling it up out of the liquid. It's a method that lets you create things like highly detailed miniatures, jewelry, and engineering prototypes.
Okay, now let's take that deep dive into the most common printer you'll find in an office. What is really going on inside a laser printer when you hit print? Well, it turns out it's a surprisingly complex 7-step dance of physics. It all boils down to these 7 steps. First, the printer figures out the image. Then, it gives a rotating drum a static charge. A laser writes on that drum by changing the charge, which attracts the toner powder. The paper rolls by and transfers that toner onto it. Then a fuser uses heat to melt it on permanently. And finally, it cleans the drum to get ready for the very next page.
And this diagram kind of puts all those steps together visually. The really key thing to understand here is the journey of that toner. See, the laser creates this invisible electrostatic map of your document on the drum. The toner, which is just super fine plastic dust, sticks to that map. Then, the paper rolls past, pulls the toner off the drum, and finally, the fuser acts like a tiny, super hot iron, melting the toner permanently onto the page. And this all happens in just a few seconds. It's wild.
Okay, so we know how they work, but now for the practical side. How do we get them set up? Whether it's for just your computer or for your whole team to use, how you connect it really matters.
So how you connect your printer really boils down to one simple question. Who needs to use it? If it's just for you, a local printer plugged directly into your computer with a USB cable is the easiest way to go. But if you want your whole family or your whole office to be able to print from any device, well, then a network printer that connects right to your router is what you need. And this diagram just makes the difference super clear, right? The local printer on the right is tethered to computer B. If that computer is turned off, nobody can print. But the network printer on the left, it's its own independent device on the network. Anyone who's connected, whether by a wire or Wi-Fi, can send a print job to it anytime they want. And that's why it's the standard for pretty much any shared environment.
All right, we have covered the what and the how. Now for what might be the most important part.
What do you do when things go wrong? So let's build your printer's first aid kit so you can tackle those common issues with confidence.
Oh, we've all been there. You click print, you wait, and nothing. The silence is just deafening. So where do you even begin to figure out what the problem is when there are so many things that could have gone wrong?
You start right here. A flowchart like this isn't just a list of steps, it's a detective's tool for isolating the problem. And that very first question, can you print a test page from the OS? That's the most important one. If the answer is yes, then you know the printer and the computer are talking just fine. The problem is probably with the specific app you were trying to print from. If the answer is no, you know the issue is somewhere deep.
Now, if your laser printer is actually working, but the pages just look bad, maybe you're seeing faint echoes of the text or little toner specks all over, the problem is often in the toner cartridge itself. Sometimes just taking it out and gently rocking it back and forth can redistribute the toner and fix a faded print. Easy.
For inkjet printers, bad quality almost always comes down to the ink. If you see streaks or missing lines in your prints, it is very likely that some of those tiny print head nozzles are just clogged up with dried ink. The good news is most printers have a built-in cleaning cycle right in their software that can usually fix this for you. Okay, but what if that automatic cleaning cycle fails? Well, here's a more hands-on approach for a stubborn clog. As this image shows, you can use a damp swab to very gently clean the plastic housing around the nozzle plate. And the key word here is around. You have to be extremely careful not to touch the electronic nozzle head itself, because that can cause permanent damage. This right here is a golden rule for anyone with a laser printer. If you are seeing that frustrating ghosting or that echo on your pages, don't immediately think the whole printer is broken. 9 times out of 10, the problem is with a part you can replace. Either the image drum is at the end of its life, or there's an issue with the toner cartridge.
So, after peeling back all those layers, what do you think? Understanding the incredible science of lasers and static electricity and microscopic ink dots, it doesn't take away the magic of creating something from nothing. It just empowers you to appreciate it more and, just maybe, fix it the next time it decides to break.